When you're going through those tough times, when you're going through those challenges, realize this is God refining you. And no, it's not fun. No, it's painful. All of the above. But it's God refining you, and because you care, you still will conflict with your spouse. We've perfected it. How do you handle adversity? Because if you're married, you're going to have adversity. 1 Corinthians 7:28 says, if you choose to marry, there will be many problems. No one ever says that. Yeah, no one ever says that in your marriage counseling, do they? No. We focus on the good things like Song of Solomon and that, rejoice in the wife of your youth. But adversity comes and storms come. And how do you handle that adversity? And I think really for us, there's a few main areas that we like to focus on, and the first one is communication. One simple practice that we practice is 15 minutes of uninterrupted conversation every day. Now you might be saying, how are we going to find 15 minutes? Well, if you have children, put them in front of the TV. It's only 15 minutes. Go into the kitchen, sit down, have just 15 minutes of conversation. Uninterrupted means these are not a part of the equation. And so that 15 minutes allows you to connect. And gentlemen, women love to connect verbally. And so just to sit down and say to them, honey, tell me about your day. And then engage them in that conversation, obviously. But 15 minutes every day will help you weather the storms because you'll know you're on the same team.
So communication is going to help you weather the storm, and so is forgiveness. Forgiveness is something really important in any relationship, but especially in your marriage. When you're going through these crises and things happen, you have to learn to forgive. We have to forgive because we've been forgiven. And so forgiving, I believe there's a scripture that says, forgive so you will be healed. Forgiveness isn't necessarily for the other person, but it's for yourself, to let go of that bitterness and that anger so that you can be healed. So communication and forgiveness.
And then finally is intimacy. And not intimacy like you might be thinking right now, but it's that closeness of husband and wife. We've got an illustration we'd love to share with you where you put your hands back to back and your fingers represent your strengths. And these parts between your fingers represent what we call your not so muches. It's the things you do well, not so much. But thank God he didn't ask us to walk through life like this. And now you look at your hands, and Laura's strengths cover my not so muches, and my strengths cover her not so muches. Folks, you married your biggest fan. And when the problems come, and they will, it's not your spouse's fault. The Bible tells us that our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the principalities and the dark forces in this world. And so when you're intimately walking through life together, that's when you're going to be able to weather the storm, walk through the weeds, quench the fire, and really be what God's intended you to be. So there's a business axiom, and it's also true in sports, that applies to marriage. And it's about the word prolific. How do you become prolific at something? In other words, one of the world's best, or at least one of the best that you know. It has to do with 10,000 hours of focused attention. So I think this became very popular when Michael Jordan was a basketball player. He had said he knew he had spent over 10,000 hours of practice shooting free throws. Just shooting free throws. Not making moves, not all the other things, but 10,000 hours of free throws is how he became a prolific basketball player. In business, whether it's an accounting degree or some other type of degree that you want to really focus in on, doing that intentionally for 10,000 hours is how you become prolific. And so many people ask the question, well, how do we improve in marriage? How do we become better in marriage, especially during the difficult times? Well, the only way to do that is to intentionally focus on your marriage. And the challenge is this: if you were able, and most of us aren't, to spend 1 hour a day focused on your marriage, in order to become prolific, it would take you over 27 years. So most of us don't know what we don't know.
When it comes to marriage.
Because we haven't become prolific with how to handle those problems. My mother always had a great statement. She said, "This too shall pass." And when you've got a young child and you're not getting any sleep, and I literally remember sitting up one night thinking to myself, I am never going to sleep again, and I'm going to die at age 27 because my kid won't sleep. But it passes. When you have those challenges of teenagers, it will pass. When you have those challenges of job loss or illness, these will pass. And as you focus on those, to fix those, to make those better, your marriage will become prolific.
And it's just the intentionality of saying to yourself. So here's something that we said. We looked at each other eyeball to eyeball when we first got engaged and said, divorce no, murder yes. Just saying that.
Important.
I'm joking. Okay, just so you know, I'm joking. But we never let that word divorce come out of our mouth. And I think what happens with this 10,000 hours, some of us give up before we've ever
even put in 1,000.
Put in 1,000 hours. And so really having that mentality of, you know what, I'm never going to give up. I'm going to continue to fight. Marriage is hard work. I'm going to continue to fight for what we have. It's going to take work. It's going to take forgiveness. It's going to take communication, but it's all going to be worth it in the end. You think about those moments that you have, maybe that you've just sat down and had a cup of coffee and you've had a great conversation. Hold on to it. Hold on to that memory, especially when those tough times come and you go, you know what? I know we can get through this. I know we can. It's going to take work. It's going to take communication. It's going to take forgiveness, but we can get to the other side of it. And so really having that mentality of we're going to put in the work and we're never going to give up.
So when you're struggling, realize that this is part of God's plan. We don't like that, but it's part of God's plan to draw us closer together. Because the number one indicator of divorce, the habitual avoidance of conflict. So when you're going through those tough times, when you're going through those challenges, realize this is God refining you. And no, it's not fun. No, it's painful. All of the above. But it's God refining you. And because you care, you still will conflict with your spouse. We've perfected it.
Ladies, you know how it is when your husband comes home from work, he walks in the door and you just want to barrage him with a bunch of questions, but you know he's not going to have a lot of answers because he needs that time to just decompress. So let's go slowly, but then here are some questions that will really help him get started in a conversation that will give you a chance to communicate each other. And here's two questions that we like to ask each other is, what was the high point of your day? And what was the low point of your day? Because both of those questions will give you, here's something really exciting that maybe happened, or maybe he had a good lunch. He went out with some friends from work and he had a great food, so you talk about that. Or he had an accomplishment today at work that you want to encourage him in. And then the low point, so that you kind of know where he's at in the day when he comes home from work, before you start in with a bunch of information that he may not be able to actually process right now at this time, because we have lots of questions because we want to talk all the time and they need time to more decompress after work.
Yes, the other important thing about questions is to always ask open-ended questions. So if I come home from work and Laura says, how was your day? I'm going to say, fine. And that ends the conversation. Instead of saying, honey, tell me about your day. And then I begin a conversation with her if I, in fact, am in the mood to have a conversation at that point. And if I'm not in the mood, ladies, one of the best questions you can ask your husband is to make a statement and then ask a question. You seem a little upset. Is there something I can do to help? When he has a hard day at work, 99 times out of 100, he's not upset with you. Trust me, 99 times out of 100. Now, if you promise steak for dinner and he comes home and it's a kale salad, then he's upset with you. But 99 times out of 100, it's going to be something that either happened at work, or his golf game's not going right, or something in his life isn't the way he would like it. One of the most important questions you can ask has to do with times when you're in a disagreement, because you will have disagreeing times. And two phrases that we use that really diffuse the level of intensity. The first one is this: honey, help me understand why you feel this way, or help me understand why you're speaking in this particular way. And so you're giving the person an opportunity to give a valid reason why they're upset, why they're angry. The second one is to say, honey, do you realize how it made me feel when you did blank? Or do you realize how it made me feel when you said blank? So there's only one of two answers. The first one is yes, I know how it made you feel, and you basically married a very unkind person. The second is no, I didn't know how that made you feel. Please tell me. And then your spouse has the opportunity to explain, when I was a young kid, this happened to me all the time, and that particular statement really hurts my feelings. Okay, I'll try not to say that again because I know it hurts your feelings.
Well, I just want to give one more tip, and this is for the men. When you are in conversation with your wife, and maybe she's explaining about her day, and she's venting a little bit, she's getting a little heated, and she's giving you all these things that happened during the day.
That you want to fix.
Exactly. You want to fix the issue. All she wants you to do is listen. Just listen and don't try and fix the problem. Don't try and tell her what she should have done or what she shouldn't have done. Just turn your ears on and listen to what she's saying. And most importantly, be engaged. Don't just go, Just engage. I'm sorry that happened, or whatever it might be. That's just my little tip to the gentleman listening.
And if at the end of that conversation you're still confused, you can simply ask the question, honey, do you want me to help you fix this problem? Or did you need me just to listen? And again, 99 times out of 100, she just needs you to listen. There's that one time when you did something really stupid and she needs you to fix it. But other than that, it's just that she needs to vent. Well, if you've enjoyed this conversation, we want to ask you to check out the resources in the links below. We've got plenty of things that can really help you and your marriage grow and develop. One of the great opportunities is to take a free, that's right, I said free, marital assessment produced by Focus on the Family that can allow you to see exactly where do we need to tweak our marriage. Another great tool that Laura and I have put together is a program called Healthy Marriage, Healthy Church, where we work virtually with volunteers in your church to create a full-orbed, year-long marriage ministry.
Thanks for watching today. If you've enjoyed this conversation, then click the link and subscribe so you can get more advice to help your marriage.